Hello, and welcome back to the Camera Rolling Podcast. This is episode 2 of season 2, and I'm your host, Ronnie. Today I'm going to be discussing Aquamarine, but before I do that, let's get into some recent watches. I don't normally watch recent movies, but this week I decided to watch a couple of recent ones. First off, I watched Nope. It came out in 2022 and was directed by Jordan Peele and stars Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer. It's about some siblings on a ranch in California encountering an alien-like thing in the sky. It's got a lot of suspense and beauty and comedy, and it's just a really interesting and well-woven story. I definitely think that this movie was a great addition to Jordan Peele's work. The second movie was Bullet Train. It came out in 2022 as well, but was directed by David Leitch and based on the book Bullet Train, or it also goes by Maria Beadle, and this book was written by Kotaro Isaka. It stars Brad Pitt, Aaron Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Joey King, and Andrew Koji. It's a pretty good ensemble cast. It's an action comedy about Brad Pitt's character getting onto a bullet train in Tokyo to steal a briefcase, but there are other people on the train who also need the briefcase for a larger antagonist, the White Death. I like stories that have a lot of different interconnected plots, and the story overall was really fun and interesting. However, I always find this sort of Japanese neo-tech type aesthetic to feel a bit patronizing in a way that's similar to the concept of techno-orientalism in media, which I could discuss at length in an entire different video. But yeah, sometimes the use of technology and this like heightened sense of technology, and it's not super prevalent throughout, but I can't tell if some of the elements that feel a bit patronizing are just inherent to the way that the book is written. I haven't read the book, so I don't know if some of those things are more inherent than others. I also don't know if everyone in the book is Japanese or if it has other people in it, so it's hard to say what liberties were taken specifically for Hollywood versus the original work itself. Either way, let's jump into today's topic, which is Aquamarine. Aquamarine is a 2016 rom-com directed by Elizabeth Allen Rosenbaum and stars Emma Roberts, JoJo, and Sarah Paxton. The movie is also loosely based on the book by Alice Hoffman. The movie follows two girls as the summer comes to an end. Their friendship might also end when one of them moves away. But before that happens, a mermaid shows up wanting to find love, so they help her find love before she has to go back to the ocean. This is honestly one of my favorite movies from my childhood, partially because I've always been kind of obsessed with mermaids, but also because the story is really great. While the movie is about a mermaid trying to find love with a surfer guy, it's also very much about friendship. We don't often see friendships between girls portrayed in this way in media. Much of the time, they're either stabbing each other in the back, like in Mean Girls, or it portrays them as if they have no flaws or conflicts, like in Clueless with Cher and Dion. This movie does a great job of setting up a conflict that pushes both of the characters in the direction of growth, but doesn't necessarily pit them against one another. The main conflict in Mean Girls is the internal rivalry, and the main conflict in Clueless is not to do with their friendship or what's going on between the main friendship between Cher and Dion. Whereas the conflict the main characters are facing in Aquamarine between Haley and Claire are that Haley is moving at the end of the summer. The desire to stay close to one another propels them in their journey with the mermaid Aquamarine, or Aqua, but the growth in them as individuals kind of exacerbates the equilibrium of their current friendship. So this prompts growth forward or dissipation of the relationship. So at the start of the movie, we get to see their close relationship when the main characters are introduced. The girls sit on the beach talking about their mutual crush, which is Raymond. Raymond is a lifeguard about to enter his senior year, I think. and works for the beach club that Claire's grandparents run. The girls kind of ogle him until Cecilia, a mean girl, shows up to flirt with him and is successful in doing that. The girls, however, have been watching Raymond long enough to be able to tell whether or not he's interested in a girl. And the fact that they mutually like an unattainable high school boy is just so reminiscent of being a middle school girl. But within the first few minutes, we get a very clear understanding of how different the girls actually are in their personalities. Haley is very outgoing, sort of tomboyish, but independent and strong. Claire, however, is more anxious and shy, but smart and girly in her style. Their dynamic works at the beginning because when Claire brings up the move, Haley's more dominant personality insists on pushing the feelings down, and Claire is too passive to keep pushing Haley to talk more deeply about how she feels about moving away. So that night, a storm moves in, and we find out about Haley's mom moving them to Australia for her work. Claire and Haley also have a little movie night sleepover that they seem to have as a pretty frequent tradition. The next day, the storm washes up a bunch of debris into the pool at the club, and when Claire goes to check out something in the water, she falls in, and this is how we learn more about her fear of water, because her parents actually passed from drowning. That also explains why she lives with her grandparents and hangs out at the club all summer. Since Claire thinks that she saw something in the pool, they return later in the evening and discover Aquamarine, a mermaid, has washed up. They have a little bit of a conversation with Aquamarine as she explains, yeah, mermaids are real and it's so interesting that you have legs, and they're like, whoa, there's actually a mermaid here. More or less, the next day, they find out that Aquamarine has vacated the pool and she has legs now. As they get to talking with her, they go up to Claire's room, and this is when a seashell starts to sort of buzz, which is like a shell phone. She gets a call from her father and finds out that she needs to find love in only a few days if she doesn't want to have to enter an arranged marriage that he has set up for her. So Aqua tries to get the help of the girls to prove that love is real and so that she can fall in love with someone, and to get them to help her, she tells them that they'll receive a wish for helping out a mermaid. And naturally, the girls want to wish to stay together, and so they help Aqua. Immediately, Aqua sees Raymond out of the window and wants to fall in love with him specifically. The girls are super surprised, but Aqua immediately goes down and tries to introduce herself and says, "Are you in love with me?" And he's like, "No, you're hot, I gotta go." So obviously Aqua's confused, but the girls are like, you have to get his attention, you have to try to court him. So they tell her, we know all about Raymond and we have all these magazines that will show us how to get him to date you. So essentially they try to train Aqua in the way of attracting human boys. Some of the advice that they give in the magazines is to do essentially a drive-by, and not in a dangerous way, but they will essentially ride their bikes past Raymond's house so that he possibly sees them, but they have to pretend like they didn't realize it was his street or his house that they were passing by. However, when they do attract his attention, Aqua gets distracted and she ends up falling off the bike. And of course, Raymond sees this and he immediately goes to try to help. And this is probably one of the funniest moments in this movie, not because they were trying to be, or maybe they were, maybe it was the biggest satire ever, but I think it's so funny. In trying to get to Aqua as quickly as possible, Raymond jumps over the side of his sort of porch area, and they play this really intense sort of guitar riff, and they play it in slow motion. I don't know, it's just so funny and dramatic for no reason. Either way, before they can really get to talking, Cecilia shows up in her car asking Raymond for driving lessons. And this is one of those scenes where we immediately get to see the contrast between the girls and Aqua's personality, when Cecilia kind of makes fun of and is just rude to the girls overall, and instead of taking the insult the way that the girls normally would, Aqua decides to insult Cecilia back. She has a very bubbly, outgoing, and confident personality, which is perfect for getting people out of their shells. So they spend the rest of the afternoon sort of preparing Aqua to encounter Raymond again because there's going to be a fair and he said he was going to be there, so they're going to show up to the fair and again try to flirt with him. And this is a great montage of just girls bonding over magazines and stuff, and I know it's like really stereotypical, and I don't think there's anything wrong with not breaking gender stereotypes when it comes to girly movies like this. I mean, girls can like magazines and want to talk about boys, and it's not a bad thing. So later they go to the fair, and Aqua immediately captures his attention. He wins her a toy dolphin, gets her cotton candy, and rents a paddle boat for them. I think her childlike wonder of the human experience is just intriguing to him, but also as he talks with her, he realizes how experienced she is and how much of life she's lived, and that they have a lot more in common than one might think. And of course, her confidence draws him in, so he asks to go to the last splash dance, but before they can kiss at the end of the night, she has to rush off. Part of the stipulations of Aqua being on land and having legs is that she can only have legs for the day portion. As soon as the sun sets, she turns back into a mermaid, and also if she touches water, she'll turn into a mermaid. But the girls can't put her just in the ocean because her dad will want to bring her back using the ocean currents, so they put her in a water tower for the evening. The next day, they decide to go to the mall to find a dress for Aqua and for themselves for the dance. And of course, we have another fun early 2000s montage of shopping. It's implied that the girls are now closer because of this bonding experience, and shopping in general can be a great bonding experience for teen girls, kind of the way that young men will play sports together. It's a chance to learn more about someone's tastes and to get some casual exercise. I just think there's a lot of benefits to having conversation and enjoying being out and about with a group of people that you care about. And while shopping, Aqua yells hello into the mall really loudly, and a normal person would never do that, but she tells the girls, why go through life unnoticed? And I think that's part of the lesson that she tries to teach them in entering their lives in the first place. Afterwards, Aqua says that she wants some earrings, but tells the girls that she doesn't wear the earrings that you put through your ear, she actually wears live starfish. She asks the girls to swim out to a buoy to get some live starfish and offers them a ride via dolphins. Obviously, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for most people to swim with dolphins, so Haley jumps at the chance, but is slightly disappointed when Claire won't come with her. I think this is another great moment in their friendship that's like small and subtle, that Haley never tries to push Claire into getting in the water. She may like razz her a little bit and say, oh, you should get in the water, when are you going to get in the water, or just invite her in general to get in the water with her, but she never tries to actually push her in. And I think knowing that her experience is more related to trauma than just the anxiety of something new is what makes this situation make sense and make it seem that Haley is not a bad guy in any way, or that she should try to push her into doing it. But while Haley is gone to the buoy, Aqua tells Claire about her view of love and that she'd seen a couple on a boat. This was when we discover that Claire's parents are who Aqua saw in love on a boat. This is also when Aqua sort of gives her the advice that she doesn't think that her parents would want her to go through life scared all of the time. And I think this is another big tipping point for Claire in terms of gaining confidence and growing as a person. Later, as the girls get a meal, they run into some of Cecilia's friends who tell them that Cecilia is going with Raymond to the dance instead of Aqua. Obviously upset, Aqua threatens to just give up and runs off. Claire tells Haley to follow Aqua while she finds Raymond, and this bit of agency in Claire is the first of her gaining more confidence and showing it. So Aqua begins to doubt that love even exists, and instead of trying to tell her the opposite, Haley shares more about her life. She shares that her dad left her family for another woman, and that love doesn't always work out. but she thinks they should keep trying and that love is the closest thing that humans have to magic. Meanwhile, Claire finds Raymond and Cecilia at sort of a pre-dance party, and she immediately confronts him. But Cecilia prompts someone to throw her in the pool, which obviously frightens Claire. She cries and screams until the guy puts her down, but now embarrassed, she runs out. Raymond, knowing that her parents drown and she's afraid of water, obviously runs after her and is disgusted by Cecilia. So this is when the stories meet up again. So Claire and Raymond are on their way back to Claire's house, and on the other hand, Aqua and Haley are sort of bonding, and even though Haley probably still has a crush on Raymond, she still supports Aqua instead in sort of denouncing him while eating ice cream. But Claire and Raymond show up, and Aqua sort of forgives him, and Raymond explains, and they decide to go to the dance together. At the dance club type of place, they have sort of a seating area next to the dance floor, so Aqua and Raymond are sitting and they're sort of eating, and Raymond mentions how sure of herself that she is, but even though she is, she's still willing to admit she doesn't know everything. Aqua is simply confident. Aqua does not know how to dance, but tries and then lets Raymond try to teach her. And at the same time, Cecilia tries to intervene, but Claire steps in front of her and confronts her. And I think Haley is honestly stunned, but still proud of Claire for going beyond what she thought she could. Later in the evening, before they can watch fireworks, Aqua has to run off before sunset, and Cecilia actually decides to follow her to the water tower. Cecilia sees her and traps her in the water tower, and this scene is also a great moment of contrast between the main friendship between the girls and the so-called friendship between the mean girls. When Cecilia goes to investigate the water tower, her friends get bored and decide to abandon her. Then later, when Cecilia returns to the dance to tell them about Aqua, they laugh in her face and walk away. And Cecilia is demeaning and rude to them the whole time, so even though they did something mean, it almost feels justified. It makes it hard to feel bad for Cecilia when something bad happens or when people are rude to her. The next day is the final day, and Haley is packing up to leave, having accepted she's probably going to have to move. Claire, on the other hand, is still hopeful and doesn't want to say goodbye yet. And this is when they get into an argument because the dynamic has finally sort of shifted between them. Haley brings up how Claire has always leaned on Haley, almost in the way a caretaker or mother might have to take care of someone, and that she needs to stand on her own. Claire brings up that Haley is so angry with what's going on in her life, like with her mom and her family, that she's pushed everyone away except her, and that's why she has no other friends. And so Haley comes back saying that Claire has no friends, yet she has lived in the same place her entire life. And of course they cry, and this moment is heartbreaking, and Haley decides to leave, but this is all very short-lived when Claire turns on the TV. Despite them voicing the underlying issues with their relationship and each other, when they turn on the TV, Cecilia has actually led the news to the water tower in hopes of exposing Aqua. The girls rush there to find that the tower is actually empty, and Cecilia is just embarrassed. So a man from earlier in the story, he's really not that important in like the grand scheme of things, but a man from earlier in the movie decides to help Aqua and save her from the water tower, so she's now free to see Raymond at the pier. Of course, this is Aqua's last chance to really tell if Raymond has fallen in love with her, so that's what she does when she gets there immediately. She asks him if he loves her. He states the obvious, that he likes her but hasn't known her long enough to really say that he loves her yet. And of course this breaks her heart, but before she can really say anything more, Cecilia shows up and pushes her in the ocean. Aqua transforms in the water and is pulled back into the water by her father. But the girls run after Aqua, telling her to hold on to the buoy. This is also when Claire finally overcomes her fear of the water and jumps in to help save Aqua. They meet Aqua at the buoy and try to find a way for things to work, asking if they can give her their wish, but she tells them there's no wish because she didn't find love. Surprised by the girl's sacrifice, she asks them why they would risk their lives and give up their wish for her, and they tell her that they love her. This makes Aqua cry, and her tears of happiness turn the water clear as they prove that love is real. And Aqua informs them that the girls now get a wish, but it seems that they've both come to terms with how things will be. Aqua also gives them a starfish, and the thing with the starfish is that the starfish can actually speak, and they're big suck-ups, so they give people compliments. So when she gives them the starfish, she says they may be suck-ups, but they always tell the truth. And the starfish reiterate that Claire is finally strong enough to enjoy life as it comes. She's courageous with a true heart. And Haley is beautiful inside and out. She's a good friend and strong enough to move on. I think this movie shows how friendships can change and grow naturally. In life, there will always be change that we can't control, like whether we move away or stay somewhere as a kid, or whether someone likes us back or not. But there are things that are in our control, like how we react to them. Claire needed to overcome her anxieties about things out of her control and learn to embrace the things that she can control. While Haley needed to learn to trust the people close to her enough to share her feelings and insecurities, enough to be vulnerable. They also both learned that not being together wouldn't negate their friendship. Most friendships K through 12 feel like they are forever, even though people move away, find different interests, or you stay friends until high school ends when you have a chance to find people you vibe with better. It's not to say that every childhood friendship should end before high school ends, but a lot aren't forever. Accepting that and accepting when the people around you grow is a large part of becoming mature and becoming an adult. This is one of my favorite movies from my childhood because I had a best friend in elementary and we had so much in common, but when she moved away, she made new friends and I had to too. It was hard and I still think about her, but as an adult, I see that that's just the way life is sometimes. This is the kind of movie that shows that sort of difficult part of childhood where you have to let go of a friendship or let go of a relationship when you don't want to, and learning to accept that and know that you'll be okay. Either way, I love this movie. It has a great cast and it's a fun movie from the early 2000s with fun fashion, fun music, and just an overall fun concept. And I feel like a lot of times with movies made for teens and tweens, they can come off really cheesy and sort of go overboard with the kind of language that they use, or they go overboard in being too heavy-handed with the scenarios they come up with. But I think this movie does a great job of both emphasizing the value of friendship without having to tear an entire friendship down. And I also think that it's a great representation of friendship between girls because, again, you don't often see friendship between girls that doesn't seem to rely on some sort of stereotype or all or nothing thinking, this black or white look on the friendship itself. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and with that, keep watching movies, and I'll see you guys next week.